Gel plate printing with stenciling. Here's some resources you might need.
Hello! For this task I am going to show you how to design and create a stencil. For this task you're going to need a cutting mat, a craft knife, a pencil, some tracing paper, some cartridge paper possibly, and also your work from previous tasks for inspiration. Okay, so to get started, what I'm going to do is just take a little look through my previous work to get ideas on what I want to do for my stencil. I really like the way this sort of leafy shape came through, so I know that I want to use that shape. I'm going to use my tracing paper to copy or trace over the shape of that leaf very roughly. And then I'm going to turn it around again. Of course, you can make your stencil as detailed, as complex as you want to. I'm going to keep this quite simple just for the purpose of the video. If you prefer to freehand draw, then please do go ahead and do that. Don't feel like you have to trace. Okay, and that is my design. Okay, this is quite a simplistic design, and what I intend to do is just cut out these shapes loosely. However, if you've got a design with more detail on the inside of the shape, then you're going to need to consider islands and bridges. Okay, so just to illustrate that, for example, if you was to draw the letter A, if you wanted to make that into a stencil, you're going to have to consider the fact that this area here is an island. So if you was to cut out this shape, this part would come out as well, and that would be lost and it would be missing from your design. So to rectify that, what you need to do is apply a bridge. So if you take a look at stencil fonts, you'll notice that the stencil fonts have bridges in them. And then this is how we keep all of that inside detail with it still looking like it's supposed to. So don't forget islands and bridges. Okay, so back to my design. You need to make sure that you follow the health and safety guidance. Make sure that you are moving your page rather than yourself round. Make sure that your lid is on your craft knife at all times when not in use. And keep your supporting hand above your knife and working away from your supporting hand. Okay, so I'm just going to get busy cutting my design out. Make sure you take your time. And as I said earlier, if you do feel like you want to add a bit more detail to your stencils, then please do go ahead. If you have access to a Cricut Maker or 2D design or like a laser cutter or anything like that, they are incredible for making stencils, but of course not everybody has access to those. Cutting by hand is incredibly rewarding, so Okay, so that is my design cut out of my my paper. You will notice that I used my tracing paper to actually cut into. If you prefer to transfer that tracing to cartridge paper, then you can do that. I'm just going to give this a go today because it's quite thick, so I'm hoping that it's going to be a good choice for creating a stencil from. You can actually buy something called mylar sheets, which are specifically for creating stencils, and I believe they're sort of plasticky, so they will last a lot longer than if you're using paper. If you're using paper, then it needs to be quite thin paper, and the reason for that is if you use card or anything quite thick, then it does tend to, the ink or the paint do tend to bleed underneath it, which is why I tend to use either cartridge paper or tracing paper or something a bit thinner. Does mean that you can only use it once or twice, which is quite frustrating. Okay, you'll also notice that I did my best to keep the pieces that I cut out of the middle intact, and that's just so as I can experiment with using those later on with gel plate printing as well, and we'll see how that goes.